Hello and welcome to Books and Beyond. My name is Jimmy Bennet and I'm your host. Books and Beyond is the show where we help people personify their aspirations. I myself am an author. I've written 4 books, 2 of which are here, Case of the Floating Corpse and A Case of the Flying Corpse. I also want to give a little shout out to CAPA, the Connecticut Authors and Publishers Association of Connecticut. The Southeastern chapter, we meet every third Thursday of the month. We've been going to Philomena's down in Waterford. Anybody that has anything to do with the written word, if you're an aspiring author, if you're a writer, poet, publisher, agent, whatever, more than welcome to come and network with people of like-minded people. So today, I have a special guest. It's a subject that I'm really kind of not up on it, but I'm excited about. Jim Bradham is my guest today.
Nice to meet you, Jimmy.
And Jim has written a book, but first let's find out about you, Jim. Tell us about you. What do you do?
My name is Jim Bradham, and I am a sports massage therapist and owner of Game Changer Sports Recovery. I've been doing sports recovery for over 24 years. I started off with the X Games, and I've worked for my friend who was a chiropractor. I've done sports from pretty much middle school to professional athletes, and that's pretty much what I do. I teach people how to take care of themselves, help them recover from injuries.
So you do a lot of therapy with people with injuries?
Yes.
Okay, massage therapy or other therapies? What do you?
So I specialize in trigger point therapy, which is a form of massage. You address the trigger points within each muscle, and it retrains them to function the way they're supposed to.
Oh, okay, all right.
So I have a specialized technique that I've developed over the years, and then I've developed that into my own protocol, and it's part of why I wrote the book.
Okay.
Yes.
So now this book. Well, tell us about the book.
The book is called The Sport of After Sport. It is all, I wrote it for basketball, but it's a universal sport, injury prevention and recovery. And I wrote it to give athletes kind of knowledge of how to take care of themselves, who to seek out, how everything in the health fields work together. So it's like a self-help guide for them to help them take care of themselves at a younger age, so as they progress, not only will they be better physically and mentally, but their playing careers can last a lot longer.
You know, I know there's always been a lot of injuries in youth sports.
Yes.
Even when I was a kid, there was a lot of busted heads, a lot of concussions, a lot of broken bones.
Yes.
And do you think now, though, that there's even a bigger rise of that? Because it seems like their kids are getting into sports and stuff much younger.
Way younger.
You know what I mean? It used to be you were 8, 9, 10, you joined Pee Wee football or whatever, you know what I mean? But now, I mean, they're right out there 3, 4, 5 years old.
And they're playing the same sport.
Right.
Year round, which when we were growing up, you played multiple sports.
Right.
And not at an early age, but now the kids are playing not only a lot younger, but with all these programs now, there's so many more games, and you're playing the same sport, so you're getting a lot of the repetitive injuries.
Right.
From the same sport.
Right. And as an old guy, I can tell you, those injuries from when you're younger, now you feel them.
Oh, yes.
Now you really feel them.
Because they don't go away.
No, they don't.
They don't go away.
And the older you get, the more you feel them.
Right.
So preventing that, and getting a handle on that early,
yes,
is probably it is a good thing,
And just having a little bit of a knowledge too of who to seek out, some tips and tricks to mental health, physical health, and everything kind of combined. So it's just even doing a little bit or having a little knowledge to do it at a younger age, it makes a world of difference.
Right.
As they get older.
Now, in your book, do you discuss not only, what do you discuss basically? Run through it.
All right. So there's hydration, nutrition, strength and conditioning, trigger points. That's pretty much how to break down your muscles, stretching, mental awareness. What else? And there's a couple other things that are health related. Sleep. Sleep's a huge one.
Right.
So it's a combination of everything, and I break it down individual, of like, all right, this is hydration. These are some tips and tricks to do for hydration.
Right.
Sleep, some tips and tricks of like how to get better sleep, how to break down your muscles, how to stretch, strength and conditioning, and how in the order to do it, who to seek out. I have for different professions, because within the health field, there's so many like misuse information on YouTube and everything.
Right.
So I kind of break it down to make it so that way everyone has like, oh, okay, this is who I can go see for this.
Right.
For nutrition, right? So like a nutritionist or like someone like that, and how it all works together.
Right.
And then kind of like, because everything's, especially with medical field, everything's so like scattered.
Yes.
And there's everyone doesn't really know. So
Yep.
I made it simple. So
And it does seem like too that I mean I'm a big golf guy. That's my thing.
Yes.
I like golf.
yeah,
So I've noticed over the years how the game has developed and the game has changed, and even though the golf has changed.
yes,
I mean, back in the day, Arnold Palmer would jump in his Cadillac and drive from Michigan to California
yeah,
in 2 days, sleep in his car, get up, play a round of golf. Now they have these teams. They have nutritionists. They
Yes.
have massage. They have sports mental,
Yep.
sports psychology,
Yep.
stuff like that. And it's true. It just seems to be. I mean, and obviously their game is, way elevated.
Right.
I mean, everything's elevated, and a lot of that I think is because kids get into the sport a lot earlier.
yes.
They've been playing for a long time.
Right.
It's not like you get out of college and go, be a pro golfer.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm just gonna do this.
I can hit the ball. Go out and play.
Yeah.
So I can see where that's important. What are the biggest problems you see with the people you work with?
Because they let things go for so long.
Right.
So usually with any injury, like even with the ankle injury, or like they let it just like think it's gonna heal on its own, or they just let things go, or they don't address it right away. So by the time they come to see me, now I'm trying to like backtrack
Right.
all these things that have already been set in for like a month or 2 months.
Right.
So, and it's hard too, because like the younger generation doesn't know how to take care of themselves. So it's hard. So their mindset of when we were younger,
Right.
we know everything.
Right. Yeah.
So now they know everything,
Yep.
and then now you're trying to convince them, hey, you might want to start doing this now. So you're finding a lot more injuries because they're doing so much at a higher rate,
Right.
and they want to get to that next level. They want to make that that jump to like get to like, because they all have aspirations to be pros, no
Right.
matter what sport it is, right?
Right.
So like, but they see the big picture, but they don't know the steps to get there. And by the time they
Right.
see me, it's usually
Yep.
like things have set in,
Yep.
and then now they don't have the patience to like understand like, okay, now you have this injury, so we have to like cut it back a little bit to get you back on track, and then
Right.
you can go back to doing what you need to do.
It's probably just as important for the parents to be aware of this
Huge.
too.
Parents, coaches,
Yes.
and there's a big disconnect with coaches too, and parents. The parent wants the kid to do all this, to do all these things.
Right.
The coach wants results. They want to win.
Right.
No matter what sport, you want to win. So then it's like they will. It's not their. It's not kind of like not their fault, because they don't really know. But at the same token, you have to like maintain your kids.
Right.
So yeah, coaches and parents is a big disconnect.
Yeah, because I mean I can imagine, like you say, I mean, and a lot of parents have a lot of aspirations for their children
Yes,
too.
yes.
They think I'd like to see my kid really do well.
Yes.
Of course, we're from the old days where you limped and they were like, well, limp faster. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
You know what I mean? Come
Deal
on,
with it.
Work through it. Work
Yes,
through it.
yeah, push through it. Yep.
And a lot of that stuff probably comes back to bite you long, years down the road. So it's probably, are the kids like pretty receptive to it? I mean, do they?
On the general, this is why I've been working with a high school team in particular.
Yep.
Because a lot of those kids are going to be going Division I basketball.
Right.
They're more apt to listen to me, because they want to get to that next level.
Right.
So even with that, you'll have the kids that will listen and the kids that won't.
Right.
But at least they'll have the knowledge. So if they don't use it now, maybe one time they might get an injury and say, hey, you know what? Okay, even though I didn't listen
Right.
then, I can like start to get on board. But they're more receptive now because a lot of them do want to like get to their big dreams, right?
Right.
And everyone at that level, especially in high school, has, unfortunately, because of like the amount of playing they play, they've received some type of injury.
Right.
Right. So like once you start seeing, oh wow, I feel better after showing these little tricks.
Right.
Then you're like, oh, it clicks. So then you start listening a little bit better.
They do play much more now than they used to, right?
A lot more. Yeah.
I see that. See them my friends' kids and stuff too that are in sports, and I mean it's pretty intense. I mean they like train almost like the pros. They're and you think to yourself, wow, that's a lot.
In the rest period, right? There has to be more of a rest period because that's another thing too, right? Because the coaches like have a lot more games,
right?
Or just expect a lot more from kids, so they don't give them the rest they need. So they play more games, less rest,
right?
Repetitive injuries. So it's like repetitive like sports. It just all of it together. It's never really great.
Yeah. What's the most common injuries you see?
For kids, mostly like ankles, a lot of ankle like sprains and strains, knees, and hips.
Knees.
Yes.
Knees and hips.
And even like, because like back in our generation, like you didn't get too many knees. Ankles, yes, right? So everyone like sprained an ankle at some point.
Right.
But now you're seeing more knees and hips.
Yep.
Only because just there's so much that is involved. Like, and practices are crazy.
Yep.
They practice almost every day.
Right.
And then they have games. If they're not practicing, they have a game.
Right.
So most of these kids, even in colleges I deal with and even pros, a lot of the rest days are not very many.
Yeah. Yep.
So now you're getting more injuries all the way up. And it depends on the sport too. With like lacrosse or golf, you'll have more of like shoulders associated with all the rest.
Right.
Yep. And that's just because of just repetitiveness is good to like for muscle memory to a certain point.
Right.
Like with golf, right?
Right.
You swing, you want the muscle memory.
Right.
However, if you go out and you weight lift every day, and then you play like 18 holes like every day, it's gonna get you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's gonna get you if you don't do anything to offset that.
No, I love the game, and I mean I love to when I'm out. I always feel great when I'm out playing, but the next day the back, the shoulders, the elbow.
You wake up and you get hit by a truck.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God,
Yes.
But now, so when you're dealing with youth like that in the kids like that, what would you say? What would you tell a parent how to help prevent injuries in their children?
So you want to seek out someone that like is involved with like. It doesn't really matter the field either. You do like either a massage therapist, acupuncturist, chiropractor, anyone that deals with like health. It's not a bad option.
Right.
Just to start learning how to maintain it.
Right.
The reason why I wrote the book is that way it gives you like a little bit more insight to each aspect.
Right.
Into who to see and like some of the tips and tricks. But like ultimately, as long as you're going to see a healthcare professional like that deals with like sports injuries.
Okay.
Anyone sports injury related is usually a good call because they do a high volume and they're dealing more with like sports and so you can get better results.
Right. More specialized.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So did you go to school? Where'd you go to school?
I went to school. I went to Montville High School for high school.
Yep.
And then after I went to Bancroft School of Massage Therapy.
Okay.
But it wasn't until after I left there and then I worked with the X Games with all the professional skateboarders.
How was that?
Awesome.
That must have been fun.
At 21 years old, I was like living like.
Oh, no kidding!
Yes,
Really?
Yeah.
Traveling around with the
doing the X Games.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So like, and working with some of their trainers, it's kind of ultimately what got me sparked into like dealing with the big time injuries and some different like tips and tricks they used.
You've probably seen a few on us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You get broken ribs.
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
You get some like hardcore like injuries. So I took kind of what they did, and over the years, kind of like took what they did and kind of developed my own protocol really. So it's a combination of what they did with what I do, and then over the years I just kind of like went from there. Then I ended up getting married and having kids.
Yeah.
So then I kind of slowed down a little bit, and then now my kids are getting older. So now I'm getting back in the realm of like working with more like that.
How old are your children?
I have a 24-year-old.
Okay.
Brooke is 19. Then my other daughter's gonna be 18 tomorrow.
Oh boy.
And then my son's 16.
Oh God, 4.
4 kids.
Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Good for you. So here's a question. Now, let's say let's go middle school.
Yes.
Kids playing football.
Yes.
Comes home from practice. Is there something that you should look for as a parent, or are there signs that maybe there's a problem or that something needs to be addressed? Because a lot of
Yes.
kids won't say nothing.
Yes.
They'll just walk in the house and yeah.
Yes. You can tell by the way they walk. If you just pay attention to their body language tells you everything.
Yep.
Take being a parent out of it. Take being like, just kind of just look at them and assess them.
Yep.
A lot of times, especially now, hydration is one of the biggest things. Like these kids don't hydrate.
Right.
They don't drink enough to keep up. So
Right.
hydration is one of the biggest things of keeping your muscles like functioning.
Yeah, a couple of Red Bulls and they're ready to go.
Oh yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
All
mean?
these
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
energy drinks
Yeah.
and everything.
Right.
And I'm like, that's so simple, but yet they don't
Yeah.
they miss the bus, right? So if they're dehydrated, you can tell that they're sluggish. You can tell the way they're moving. If they're wincing, if they're walking, and you can tell that they're like uncomfortable. So
Right.
certain signs like that, like you just have to pay attention a little bit more to the body language,
Right.
and then the body language will tell you everything.
Okay, yeah, because that's a good I think that's a good tip. Nice piece of advice, because like I say, most kids, they're not gonna say nothing. To
They
you.
won't.
They're gonna walk in the door. They're gonna eat their dinner, go to their room, play video games
Yeah.
or whatever. You know what I mean? But they're not gonna sit down and engage with you and go, you know what? Geez, hey, this shoulder, something. You know what I mean?
How you doing? Fine.
Right. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And,
And
and then that's like you say. Then things compound.
Yes.
And get worse. And you
Yeah.
need to work on that.
Or now with the concussion protocols, right? So even though they might not register for the concussion per se, but you still can get neck strain and everything from like getting contact.
Right.
Right. So that can make you a little sluggish. So it can transgress into that. So just keeping aware of the body, like watching their body language, it's key.
Yep.
How they're sleeping, if they're not sleeping, or if they're complaining a lot of headaches. If the kids are getting headaches a lot, then you're like, okay, are you dehydrated? There's different things that
Right.
So it just honestly just just being more aware,
Yeah.
other than just like throw a kid in the car. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Take them to practice, pick them up,
Yeah,
take them home.
yeah. Because we're all guilty of a little bit of it, right? Because
yeah.
it's just daily life, right?
Yeah, you're busy. You got things
busy.
going. You're doing things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But at least kind of do a check-in on them, look at them before they go to bed. Just
Yeah.
kind of make sure that, even just remind them constantly. Just say, hey, did you drink enough today? Are you eating healthy?
Right.
These energy drinks are horrible.
Yeah.
They're horrible. So, but these kids are drinking 2 to 3 a day.
I know.
Right?
know.
So it's just kind of checking in and kind of keeping aware of a little awareness of and it helps the parent too, because you know what, as an adult, we start doing a lot less, right?
Right.
To take care of ourselves. So it's kind of a good check for both.
Yeah. You need to. I think you do need to, obviously too. You know your kid.
Yes.
If you know your kid's not quite off it.
Right.
But teenage years is tough anyways,
Oh.
man. You never know when they walk in the door what
you're
you're
gonna
going to get, right?
It's like a tornado.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
right. So
Yeah.
it's harder to, I mean, I know people that, take their kids' blood pressures and, have the little EKG machines
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which I guess is all right, but to me, I often find that people that aren't trained in the health profession, they read
Right.
things into everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's, like they say, like the doctor who treats himself as a fool for a patient.
Yes.
You have to, leave that to the people that are qualified.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Now, do you recommend like regular checkups for your kid when they're, do
yeah.
they have a do a pre-exam right before they do a sport? Is that something that you
Yes.
think everybody should do?
Yes.
They should go see a doctor and
Yeah.
have them check them out and
Yeah.
whatever. And Make sure that there's no
do a pre-screen.
Right.
Make sure, and then even a pre-screen with like anyone else in the healthcare field, like just to
Right.
say, hey, you know what? Here's a baseline.
right,
Every year, just check in and say, all right, is everything good, like structural wise too, right? Because kids,
Right.
when they're younger, they're growing at a rapid rate.
right.
So you have that on top of everything else.
Yep.
So it's just good in general to like get a baseline
Right.
every year, saying, okay, like what's going on? Blood work, right? That's a
Right.
huge one. Make sure that you're not deficient in anything because our bodies are like chemistry,
Right.
right? So it's like an oil change in the car, like so the fluids. So it's all the things combined. It's good to have a baseline.
Yep.
So then as you go along, yeah, okay, cool. Like this is what I'm gonna have to deal with, or genetics.
Yep.
Right? If we're genetically predisposed to certain like.
Oh, I never really thought about that, but I guess you're right.
Right.
Like if you're genetically predisposed to heart problems,
Yes.
being a cross-country runner might be problematic
Yes.
for you if you don't.
And you can be the healthiest person in the world.
Right.
But now you start seeing some of these kids now like having like heart problems at early
Yeah.
age. So like because they're getting pushed more too, right?
Right.
So if you at least know that you have a condition,
Right.
you can kind of alter.
Well, I was kind of thinking that because every year you always hear basketball player collapses on the court and dies
Yes.
of a heart attack at 14.
Yeah.
16-year-old football player, collapses on the field and dies.
Yeah.
And you're just like, damn. I mean, obviously there was probably a precondition there,
Yeah.
or something that that they didn't know. But I think the blood work is probably a good, because blood work will tell you a lot.
Yes.
Give you a lot of at least baseline, like you say, baseline information.
Yes. Right.
You
And
know?
if you are deficient in something, or if there is something
Yeah.
going on, at least it's because they're not going to do the more like intensive like workups on when you're younger. So like at least the blood work
Right.
is something.
Right.
You know.
Every parent I think dreams of that too with their children who's in sports. They dream the kid's going to make it big, or
Yes.
at least get a college scholarship.
Yes.
You know what I mean, or
Yes.
something like that. And so you probably do encourage it more. Push them along a little bit more about it. But
Yes.
But then again, you think about it, all the preventive care and stuff, it's just protecting your investment.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's just, I've known, I used to work with a couple guys, one guy especially, he was a phenomenal basketball player, phenomenal. And his first year in college, he broke his ankle, never really came back.
Nope.
And couldn't play on that level again, you know what I mean? It was hard for him, you know what I mean? It was,
And then it starts affecting their mental.
Right. And
Right.
it's something that I think, like me, everybody always says, I have a bum knee, my knee hurts me a lot, and stuff. And people are like, well, you're going to get it replaced? I said, well, when I can't play golf anymore, I'll get it replaced.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm 65. I mean, it's, it's okay.
Right.
But, when you're younger, it's better to, I think, you know what I mean? To, like you say, I know a friend of mine who played rugby his whole life, and some days he gets up and he's like,
He can barely move, right?
Yeah, he can barely move
Yeah.
because it's just, because all the bumps and bruises and cracks and breaks and stuff like that. So,
And if you intervene that when he was younger,
right,
you're better
Right.
conditioned later on. And that's the thing, even like with colleges, right? They're starting to get more like involved now because the investments are more with the NIL money.
right,
So now you have the money's involved. So
Right.
now they're starting to get like a little bit more involved with the health and making sure that their athletes are like
Right.
doing well, because it's all around. It's just so important to like just maintain.
yeah. And I think especially younger, like you say, kids don't think about that. I never
No.
thought about it. I never thought about, wham, I was dizzy for 2 hours.
Yes.
I mean, walking around and seeing stars,
Right.
Maybe a blacked out a little bit, but all right, I'm
Yeah,
okay now.
no big
you
deal.
know?
No
Get
big
up the next day and off we went again.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's important, I think, that you're right. I think it's very important. And I think the thing, now one of the things you'd like to do is get more involved with the school systems, right?
Yes.
You want to, which is good. I mean, I think your book should go into school systems, coaches, teachers,
Yeah.
people in the faculty will know, and then maybe pass that information on to the kids.
Yes.
Because like you say, there's so much more to it than just, all right, suit up and get out there.
Yes.
I mean, and that's a great way to start. And I wish you all the luck in the world on that. Now, I know you have an ebook on Amazon.
Yes.
And you've started printing a few now. But I want to encourage anybody out there in the in the sports field and the school systems and stuff, please check out this book, The Sport of After Sport by Jim Bradham. You want to, I think it's an important thing. I think there's a lot of people out today who would have been much better off if they had done this when they were younger.
A lot sooner.
Yes,
a lot sooner.
A lot sooner.
Yes.
And I wish you all the luck in the world with it. I hope to see it out there. But I would, like I say, I would encourage you to get in contact with schools and all these sports organizations and stuff, and because keeping the kids healthy and more aware now will do them well for the rest of their life.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jim. It's been great having you on the show.
Thanks, Jimmy.
I wish you all luck in the world with that, and we'll talk a little bit. Maybe we'll figure out a few things, some distribution things, and maybe I'll see you at a couple of book signing events. That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
All right?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Jim.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Nice meeting you too.
Have a good
All
one.
right, that's it for Books and Beyond this time. Thank you very much. I'm Jimmy Bennett, and we'll see you next time.